Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Chapter 107.
So you've got the young Emperor Cao Fang on the throne. But the real power struggle, the tension, is between two key figures. There's Cao Shuang, the regent, kind of young, maybe a bit arrogant, holds the reins of power.
Okay.
And then there's the elder statesman, Sima Yi. He's the Grand Commandant, incredibly experienced, deeply respected, but also seemingly pushed aside by Cao Shuang. Sima Yi's basically been playing the long game, waiting.
Waiting for Cao Shuang to make a mistake?
Exactly. And Cao Shuang handed it to him on a silver platter.
How so? What was the trigger?
It was almost mundane.
Yeah.
In a way. Sima Yi gets word that Cao Shuang, his brothers Cao Shi, Cao Xin, Cao Yan, and his whole inner circle, all his key advisors like He Yan and Deng Yang,
The whole crew.
pretty much the entire top leadership. They've taken the Emperor Cao Fang out of the capital, Luoyang, first to visit Emperor Ming's tomb, which is, a formal duty.
Right. Sounds normal enough.
But then they decide to go on this big hunting trip, leaving the capital essentially undefended, politically speaking.
So the city's empty of the people in charge.
Completely empty. And Sima Yi sees this tiny window, this opportunity, and realizes it's now or never. He has to move incredibly fast.
Okay, so our mission today, let's unpack how he did it. The step-by-step of the coup, Cao Shuang's, disastrous reaction, and what this tells us about loyalty and decisions under pressure.
Let's dive in.
So Sima Yi moves. What's the absolute first thing he does?
Secures the military. Instantly. Before anything else. He appoints his own loyalists to command the troops that were previously under Cao Shuang and his brother Cao Shi. He puts Sitong Gaoru in charge of Cao Shuang's camp and Taipu Wanguan in charge of Cao Shi's.
And these aren't just random generals.
Not at all. Gaoru's is head of the civilian administration, think like chief administrator, and Wang Guan controls the imperial stables and transport. So Sima Yi isn't just getting soldiers. He's seizing control of the administrative and logistical power base of Cao Shuang's faction.
Wow. Okay, so military neutralized almost immediately, but he can't just look like a rebel leader, right? He needs cover, legitimacy.
He goes straight for it. His next stop is the Empress Dowager Guo. He presents his case, accusing Cao Shuang of usurping authority, disturbing the nation, all the classic charges.
And she just agrees.
The source says she yielded out of fear, which frankly was probably enough for Sima Yi. He just needed that official sign-off, however reluctant.
And that gives him the authority to make it official.
Precisely. He immediately commissions two high-ranking officials, Grand Commandant Jiang Ji and Sima Fu, who's prefect of the Imperial Secretariat, to draft a formal memorial, basically an official accusation, to the emperor.
Listing all of Cao Shuang's supposed crimes.
Every single one, including, and this is a key detail, using a eunuch named Zhang Dang to spy on the emperor himself. It's a potent mixed military takeover, backed by a carefully constructed political narrative of righteousness.
Designed to destroy Cao Shuang's reputation before he even knows what's hit him.
Exactly. Undermine him completely.
Okay, so he's got the military structure, he's got the political cover. Does he face any resistance inside the city?
There's one brief moment. As Sima Yi leads his troops towards the military arsenal, a gate guard at Cao Shuang's mansion, a guy named Pan Zhu, actually tries to get his archers to fire on Sima Yi's column.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Someone actually tries to fight back. Was that loyalty or just panic?
It's hard to say for sure from the text, but it highlights the risk Sima Yi was taking.
Yeah.
A single well-aimed arrow could have changed everything.
So what happened?
Sima Yi's own officer, Sun Xin, intercepts Pan Zhu. Stops him, apparently 3 times, arguing that Sima Yi is acting for the state's great affairs.
Interesting. So even some of Cao Shuang's own lower-level guys were persuaded by Sima Yi's story, or at least hesitant to oppose it.
It seems that way. The narrative Sima Yi crafted was powerful. After that brief interruption, Sima Yi and his son, Sima Zhao, they actually leave the city walls.
Why leave?
To secure the crucial floating bridge over the Luo River. This essentially seals Luoyang off. Cao Shuang can't easily get back in, and supplies can't get out to him. The capital is locked down.
Okay, so the trap is set. Sima Yi controls the capital, the military, the narrative, and Cao Shuang is still out hunting.
Pretty much. And that's when the news finally reaches him. The formal memorial, that list of accusations, arrives at the emperor's traveling party.
And Cao Shuang's reaction?
Pure shock.
Yeah.
The source says he was so stunned he almost fell off his horse. You can just picture it. The realization hitting him the moment he left Luoyang, he might have lost everything.
And this is where the real drama unfolds, right? The moment of decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the critical crossroads. And it becomes a fascinating, almost agonizing study in failed leadership.
What's the first advice he gets?
His own brother, Cao Ji, pipes up immediately. His advice: surrender. Just give up.
Seriously, just like that.
Yeah. She is portrayed as maybe more realistic, or perhaps just less ambitious.
Yeah.
He basically says, look, Sima Yi outsmarted even the great Zhuge Liang. What chance do we have against him? Let's just fold.
Wow. Not exactly inspiring stuff from his own brother.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But then, thankfully for Cao Shuang, someone with actual strategic sense arrives. Huan Fan.
Ah, Huan Fan, the wisdom bag, right?
That's him. He shows up and argues passionately, forcefully for the exact opposite. Don't surrender, flee immediately.
Okay, what's Huan Fan's plan?
It's actually quite sound, he says. You still have the emperor with you. Take him to Zhuchang, the backup capital. Use the authority you still possess, crucially. You still hold the great marshal's seal, raise troops from the provinces, and fight Sima Yi on open ground.
That sounds plausible? Risky, but plausible.
Very plausible. Huan Fan stresses they have supplies that could last for years. He literally tells the brothers, this is not the time to run headlong toward death. He's pleading with them to choose the path of resistance, the path to potentially keeping their power.
So Cao Shuang has two clear options: surrender and hope for mercy, or flee and fight.
Right. But here's where Sima Yi plays his psychological trump card. He knows Cao Shuang. He knows he's not a hardened warrior. He values comfort and status.
He's weak-willed.
Deep down, yes. So while Huan Fan is pushing for this bold, decisive action, Sima Yi sends negotiators.
Ah, the deception strategy.
Exactly. He sends Zhu Yun and Chen Tai, and later another official, Yin Damu. And they carry a very specific message, supposedly backed by a formal letter from Jiang Ji.
What's the message?
An oath. Sima Yi swears by the Lua River a very solemn oath that he only wants Cao Shuang's military authority. Give up the armies, surrender the seal, and you can retire. Go back to being a rich nobleman, live out your days in comfort. No harm will come to you or your family.
That's tempting, especially if you're scared.
Incredibly tempting. And this is where Cao Shuang completely falls apart. The source describes him spending the entire night just agonizing, weeping, pacing, holding his sword, unable to decide.
Huan Fan's plan for survival versus Sima Yi's promise of comfort. Courage versus ease.
It's a stark choice. He literally spends the whole night, from dusk till dawn, paralyzed by indecision.
And in the end?
In the end, his desire for safety, for comfort, wins out. He throws down his sword and famously declares something like he'd rather be a rich old man than risk everything in a fight.
He chose the easy path, believing Sima Yi's oath.
He did. He chose the illusion of safety over the hard reality of resistance.
What did Huan Fan do?
Huan Fan just wept.
Yes.
Openly. He knew it was over. He reportedly called Cao Shuang and his brothers pigs and calves, essentially. Livestock heading willingly to the slaughter, sacrificing everything for a lie.
Even though another advisor, Yang Zong, apparently warned him right then, giving up that seal means death. You'll end up executed at the Eastern marketplace.
Yes. The warning was explicit. Surrender the seals. Surrender your life. But Cao Shuang didn't listen. He chose to believe Sima Yi's solemn oath over the river. He sends Zhu Yun and Chen Tai back with the great marshal's seal.
And that's it. Game over.
Pretty much. He seals his own fate and the fate of his entire faction in that moment.
So Cao Shuang and his brothers return to Luoyang, presumably thinking they've made a deal.
Exactly. They're allowed back into the city, back to their private residence. But the moment they walk through the door, bam, Sima Yi has it surrounded by 800 guards. Locked down tight.
So instantly prisoners. The promise was broken immediately.
Well, Sima Yi still needed to maintain the appearance of legality. He couldn't just execute them without cause, not after that oath. He needed a justification.
Right, the treason plot.
But first, there's a little test. Cao Shi, the brother who first advised surrender, suggests they ask Sima Yi for some grain 100 hu, which is a lot. A symbolic request to see if Sima Yi is really going to let them live comfortably.
And Sima Yi
Sends the grain immediately, no hesitation.
Ah, reinforcing the false hope, keeping them calm.
Precisely. It works. Cao Shuang apparently relaxes, thinking, okay, maybe he really meant it. Maybe we will just be rich old men.
But Sima Yi was just buying time to build his case.
Exactly. He goes back to that eunuch, Zhang Dang, the one Cao Shuang used for spying. Sima Yi leans on him, gets confessions. And surprise, surprise, these confessions implicate not just Cao Shuang, but his entire inner circle, He-An, Deng Yang, Li Sheng, Bi Ding Mi, in a plot to commit treason.
The perfect justification.
The perfect pretext. Once Sima Yi has those confessions, the charade is over.
What happens then?
It's swift and brutal. Cao Shuang, his brothers, and all the key allies named in the plot are dragged out and executed at the public marketplace.
Not just them, right?
No. To ensure the threat is completely eliminated, Sima Yi orders the extermination of their entire family's 3 generations of relatives. The Cao Shuang faction is wiped off the map. The power of the Cao family as regents is utterly broken.
It's devastating. But then, amidst all this brutality, there's this weird twist of mercy, right? Sima Yi pardons some people who are actually loyal to Cao Shuang.
Yeah, it's fascinating. People like Sima Luzi, Xin Chang, and even Yang Zong, the advisor who warned Cao Shuang not to surrender the seal. Sima Yi not only spares them, but actually reinstates them in their former government positions.
Why? Why spare the loyalists of the enemy you just destroyed?
Sima Yi's reasoning, according to the source, is quite philosophical. He calls them righteous men, each serving his own master. He seems to respect loyalty, even loyalty to his rival.
So loyalty itself was valued.
It seems so. And there's a really interesting detail about Xin Chang's survival. He later credited his sister, Xin Qianing. Apparently, she was incredibly wise and had advised him that the greatest righteousness was Shishou, basically fulfilling the duties of your specific job, your official post.
So stay loyal to your bureaucratic function, not necessarily to the political plotting of your boss.
Kind of, yeah. Stick to your defined role within the state system. Don't get drawn into the factionalism beyond your official duties. Sima Yi seems to have recognized this kind of principled, role-based loyalty as a virtue, something stable and useful for the state, not a threat to him personally.
That's a really subtle point. Duty over personal allegiance.
Exactly. And then you have an even more extreme example of loyalty, or perhaps duty, with the story of Xiahou Lingnu.
Right. Tell us about her. She wasn't directly involved in the coup, was she?
No, she was the widow of Cao Shuang's cousin, a noblewoman. The text mentions she had already shown extreme devotion to her deceased husband's memory by cutting off her ear to refuse pressure to remarry after he died.
Okay, that's intense.
It gets more so. After Cao Shuang and his clan are executed, her own family tries to force her to remarry again, arguing, the Cao connection is now dangerous, ruined.
In her response?
She cuts off her nose. Yeah. Her argument was profound. She said a righteous person doesn't change their heart just because fortunes change. To abandon her husband's family lineage now that it was in ruin would be the act of pigs and calves, echoing Huan Fan's very words about Cao Shuang.
Wow. Linking her personal integrity directly to the failure of Cao Shuang's leadership?
Absolutely. It's this incredibly powerful statement about unwavering principle in the face of total disaster. And Sima Yi, when he hears about this...
What does he do? Punish her for loyalty to the enemy clan?
Quite the opposite. He honors her publicly, recognizes her extreme righteousness and devotion, and significantly, he allows her to adopt an heir to continue her deceased husband's branch of the Cao lineage.
So even Sima Yi, the ruthless architect of the purge, acknowledged and made space for this kind of extreme, principled loyalty.
It seems so. It suggests that even in this brutal power struggle, certain ideals like duty, righteousness, unwavering loyalty to principle still held immense weight and commanded respect. It's a strange paradox within the coup's aftermath.
Okay, so the coup itself is done. Cao Shuang is gone. Sima Yi is consolidating power in Luoyang. But the ripples spread outwards, right? There's still fallout.
Definitely. Sima Yi is secure in the capital, but he's immediately worried about potential threats in the provinces, particularly Cao Shuang's relative, Xiahou Xuan, who's the governor of Yong Province, a key Western territory.
So Sima Yi tries to neutralize him, too.
His first move is cautious. He summons Xiahou Xuan back to Luoyang, likely to bring him under control or remove him from his power base.
And does Xiahou Xuan obey?
We don't focus on Xuan himself, but the summons immediately triggers alarm bells for his uncle, Xiahou Ba.
Another Xiahou. This family is deeply tied to the Caos, right?
Very much so. Xiahou Ba completely distrusts Sima Yi.
Yeah.
He sees the coup for what it is, a power grab, potentially regicide, and he refuses to accept it. He accuses Sima Yi of plotting to usurp the throne.
So he rebels.
Instantly, he gathers about 3,000 troops and openly revolts against Sima Yi's new regime. This isn't just some minor protest, it's a senior military commander taking up arms.
A direct challenge to Sima Yi's authority. How does that fight go?
Xiahou Ba initially clashes with Cao-Wei, who Sima Yi had likely confirmed or appointed as governor in Yong Province. And Xiahou Ba actually wins the first battle.
Oh, so maybe there was a chance.
It seemed like it. Briefly. But then reinforcements arrive for Sima Yi's side troops, led by Chen Tai, the same guy who negotiated with Cao Shuang. They manage to flank Xiahou Ba's forces.
And that turns the tide.
Completely. Xiahou Ba's rebellion is crushed. He's defeated, his forces scattered. He has nowhere left to go within Wei.
So what does he do?
He makes the ultimate choice for a defeated Wei general. He flees south and surrenders to the rival state of Shuhan.
Okay, so a high-profile guy switches sides. Cao-Wei must have been suspicious, though, right?
Oh, definitely. But he confirms Xiaohuba's story, brings him in. Why? Because this guy has inside information. Vital intelligence.
And not just military secrets, more like political focus.
Exactly that. Jiang Wei asks the key question. Is Sima Yi about to invade us now he's won?
And Xiahou says,
No. He says Sima Yi is completely wrapped up in consolidating power, purging enemies. And, this is critical, he's plotting usurpation. Tumoni, the text calls it, planning to take the throne himself. So Wei is looking inward, not outward towards Shu.
Okay, that sounds like exactly what Shu Han wants to hear. Their main rival is busy with internal politics.
It seems like a gift, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But then Xiaohuba drops the real warning.
Here it comes. It's not just about Sima Yi.
No. Xiaohuba says, look, Wei has these two young guys. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And he says, if they get command, they will become, and this is a direct quote, the great bane of Wu and Shu.
Wow, so Sima Yi, even while staging a coup, is already grooming the next generation.
That's what's so interesting. It shows his long game. He's not just grabbing power. He's building the talent pool to keep it.
But wouldn't he just use guys he already knew were loyal? Why bring in unknown young talent during a power grab?
That's a great point. It suggests Sima Yi knew real control needed more than just loyalty. It needed serious strategic thinking. He needed people who could handle complex plans. And he found two quite unconventional figures.
Let's name them. Zhang Kui and Deng Ai.
Right. Let's start with Zhang Kui. His courtesy name was Shiji.
And his job. Secretary, librarian, not exactly a battlefield general. Son of a famous calligrapher, Zhang Yao.
But the story that got him noticed happened when he was just 7. His father took him and his older brother Yu, who was 8, to meet Emperor Wen, Cao-Wei.
The imperial audience test. How did they react?
Well, the older brother Yu, he was terrified, sweating buckets. The text says sweat flowing like a torrent. Really vivid.
Understandable for an 8-year-old meeting the emperor.
Sure. And when Cao-Wei asked him about it, Yu gave this sort of polite, poetic answer about trembling.
But Zhang Hui, the 7-year-old.
Completely different. The emperor asks him, why aren't you sweating? And Hui replies, calm as anything, shaking and trembling, daring not to sweat.
Whoa. So one describes his fear, the other describes controlling his fear.
Exactly. That level of self-control, that cold intellect, even at age 7. That's what impressed the emperor. And later, Sima Yi. Sima Yi saw his love for military strategy, his understanding. He valued that mind.
Okay, so that's one. What about the other guy, Deng Ai? His courtesy name was Shizai.
Deng Ai's background is different again. Orphaned young, ambitious, working as a clerical official.
And he had this habit, right? This odd obsession.
Yeah, he was constantly out surveying the land, mountains, marshes, always pointing. You could put troops here, store supplies there, perfect ambush spot over there.
And people thought he was eccentric.
They ridiculed him, thought it was weird. But Sima Yi, he saw something else.
He saw raw strategic instinct, geographical intelligence.
Precisely. He recognized it immediately and brought Deng Ai onto his military council, despite the ridicule.
And there's another detail about Deng Ai, his speech.
Yes, he had a stutter. Often, when reporting, he'd stumble on his own name, saying, I.
Okay.
And Sima Yi, testing him perhaps, jokingly asked, so how many ayas are there going to be?
And Deng Ai's come back.
Quick as a flash, even with the stutter. He makes this poetic allusion, Feng Shi Feng Si, it is but one thing.
Referencing the phoenix? Wow. Clever. Linking his name to destiny.
Shows incredible wit under pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you have these two guys, Zhang Hui, the controlled intellectual, Deng Ai, the observant strategist with a stutter, both clearly brilliant.
And Jiang Wei hears about them, and what's his reaction?
He laughs, just dismisses them, calls them mere youths not worth mentioning.
That just seems incredibly arrogant. Or blind. Why make that mistake?
I think it's maybe a bit of both. Jiang Wei was Zhu Yilang's protege, right? He came up in a system that valued experience, loyalty, maybe a certain pedigree.
So these unconventional guys, the calligrapher's son, the stammering, map-obsessed clerk, they just didn't fit his definition of a commander.
It seems that way. He saw the political chaos in Wei, yes. But he completely missed the strategic talent Sima Yi was putting in place. A fatal oversight.
And that dismissal fuels his next move. He thinks Wei is weak, leaderless at the top strategically.
Exactly. He immediately petitions Liu Shan, the later lord, says, life is short, like a white colt passing a crack. Classic phrase. Time to act. Let's restore the Han.
But there was pushback, wasn't there, from within Shu Han?
Yes, Fei Yi, the Minister of Personnel, he urged caution, big caution. He basically said, look, even Zhujiang couldn't conquer Wei, and our own government is weaker now after losing Jiang Wan and Dong Yun. We need to focus internally first.
Solid advice, probably.
But Jiang Wei had a counter-argument.
He did. He argued that by making a quick alliance with the Chang peoples, they could secure the whole region west of Longsheng, kind of a flanking strategy.
And Lu Shan buys it.
Lu Shan approves the plan. Jiang Wei gets his army.
So the campaign begins. What's the first move? Autumn, 8th month. Jiang Wei sends 15,000 men under Juan and Li Xian. Their job, build 2 forts at Kuashan, east and west forts, linked together.
Forts, so digging in.
Sort of. Think of them as bait, an anchor, designed to draw Wei forces out, pin them down, while Jiang Rai maneuvered elsewhere.
Okay, makes sense. How does Wei react?
Instantly and powerfully. Cao-Wei, the governor of Yong province, he's a veteran. He sends his deputy, Chen Tai, remember him, with 50,000 troops.
50,000 against 15. That's overwhelming force.
And Chen Tai doesn't just attack the forts. He immediately besieges them and cuts their supply line back to Hanzhong. Shifts the whole problem to logistics.
Smart. Very smart. Isolate and starve them out.
And it gets worse. Cao-Wei and Chen Tai look at the map, see Kuashan is on high ground. They realize water is going to be scarce up there. They dam the river upstream, cut off the water supply. The Shu troops inside are trapped, outnumbered, and now desperately thirsty.
A terrible position. Did anyone try to break out?
One of the commanders, Li Jin, tried. Just to get water. He failed, got badly wounded. It looked like a total wipeout.
But something saved them.
Pure luck, honestly. The source says a massive snowstorm hit. Totally unexpected.
How? In autumn.
Bizarre, but it saved them. They melted the snow for water. Li Jin, despite his injuries, managed to slip out eventually and reach Jiang Wei to ask for help.
So the troops survived, but barely. The strategic plan is already kind of shaky.
Definitely shaky. When Li Jin finds Jiang Wei explains his own delay. He was still waiting for those Qing allies he'd promised.
Right, the Kang alliance. So with Kuashan barely holding on, what's the new plan?
Sheikh Ba, the defector, gives some classic advice. He says, attack where they aren't. He suggests flanking through Nutushan Oxhead Mountain, hit the supposedly empty Yong province rear. Force Cao-Wei and Chen Tai to lift the siege on Kuashan to defend their base.
Standard maneuver, right. Attack the weak point.
It should be. But here's where Chen Tai just shines. He predicts it.
Exactly. Predicts the flank attack through Nutushan.
He tells Cao-Wei, basically. Jiang Wei thinks all our forces are tied up at Kuashan. So logically, he'll try to hit our rear through Nutushan.
That's next level thinking, not just reacting, but anticipating the enemy's reaction.
It shows how Wei's strategic thinking has matured. They're not just fighting, they're setting layered traps.
So what was the trap?
2 parts. First, Cao-Wei takes forces to the Tao River, Tao Shui, to cut Jiang Wei's own supply line, ensuring logistical failure no matter what.
Okay, cut off the rescuer supplies. And the second part?
Chen Tai takes half the army and sets an ambush at Nutushan, waiting for Jiang Wei to walk right into it.
And Jiang Wei does.
He arrives right on schedule. Chen Tai springs the ambush.
How does that fight go?
Well, Jiang Wei is still a formidable fighter. He actually defeats Chen Tai in single combat, less than 3 bouts, the text says, forces him back onto high ground.
So Jiang Wei wins the initial clash.
He does, but the fight feels off, inconclusive, and Xiahou sees it immediately.
Sees the trap.
Yes. He warns Jiang Wei, this is a delaying tactic, a Yu Bing Ziji. He says they need to pull back now before the real trap springs.
But it's too late.
Too late. Just then, news arrives. Cao-Wei has done it, cut the supply line at Tao Shui. Jiang Wei's army is now stranded deep in enemy territory with no food coming.
Disaster. Complete disaster.
Absolute disaster. It forces a retreat, but it's brutal. Jiang Wei has to fight his way out. Chen Tai and Cao-Wei converge, surrounding his army like an iron bucket is the phrase used. He loses. The text says more than half, his army just escaping.
Devastating losses, all because he underestimated the Wei commanders.
Stemming right back to that initial dismissal of the mere youths. And the punishment isn't over yet.
There's more.
As Jiang Wei is desperately retreating towards Yangping Pass, the last bit of safety, he runs into someone else.
Don't tell me. Another one of the new generation.
The third one, Sima Shi, Sima Yi's eldest son, now serving as general of the cavalry, the heir apparent.
And the source gives us that really striking description of him here.
It does. Very unusual. Round face, big ears, thick lips, and this black tumor under his left eye with black hairs growing from it.
It's such a specific, almost unsettling detail. Makes him seem formidable, maybe a bit unnatural.
Yeah, it definitely grounds him as more than just Sima Yi's son. He's a physical presence. And Jiang Wei, defeated, furious, charges him, still shouting about him being a mere youth.
Does Jiang Wei win this fight too?
He does. Another quick victory, just 3 bouts. Jiang Wei's personal martial skill is still top tier.
So he escapes.
He manages to get inside Yangping Pass. Sima Shi tries to storm the gate right after him.
But fails.
Fails.
Yeah.
Repelled by Zhuge Ling's legacy. The repeating crossbows mounted on the walls, 10 arrows a shot. A defense from the pass saves Jiang Wei.